I'm a composer of orchestral music, chamber music, and operas. Now I work with oceanographers and geologists in creating new works. There are a few tipping points along my journey. Growing up in Beijing, I left China when I was 17 years old to come to study in America. It was in America where I discovered China. But how is that possible? Being trained at the preparatory school attached to the Central Conservatory of Music in Beijing, I studied with many wonderful teachers. But throughout my studies there, I've never been to an open shelf library until I set foot in the East Asian collections of the University of Texas at Austin. What an incredible experience that was. Books printed in English, simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese were all available to me. They told different versions of my own story, much of which were unknown to me when I was studying in China. That was a first encounter of something that I came to call the transparency of knowledge. Knowledge that was accessible, ready for me to examine, to interpret, to subvert, and to reimagine. That afternoon of standing in the open shelf library for the first time was one of the most liberating moments of my life. Part of the shock could be attributed to the difference between the US and China at the time. But the other part might come from the conservatory environment and the university campus in general. At a conservatory, one is trained to make music to be performed on a concert stage. We work with musicians, dancers, choreographers, writers, playwrights, filmmakers, and visual artists. What are the creative partnerships one can find on a university campus? Now, as a professor teaching at the University of California, San Diego, I ask myself, what is it that I can do that is impossible at a conservatory? In fact, I set a bar for myself, a simple rule. If the piece can be created within the music building, I have not worked hard enough. My journey took several turns. I began by working with engineers to study the paintings of Huang Binhong, the great Chinese landscapist, who painted this set of painting when he was nearly blind at age 87. Our visual team, led by my collaborator and co-PI, Professor Falco Kuesser of the engineering department, took a diagnostic survey in 4 wave bands of the electromagnetic spectrum. We gathered high-resolution images of this painting by using different wavelengths of light and using extremely high resolution at a feature size of 6 UM, which is about 1/10 of the width of a human hair. These are some of the details of the painting. And here is a new question for our team. Can you hear the painting? In creating the work, Hearing Landscapes, one of our team members, cultural heritage engineer, Dr. Samantha Stout, took a diagnostic survey using X-ray fluorescence analysis and collected selected elemental peaks. Another team member, software developer, Dr. Greg Surges, took that data and transformed it into a sonic filter. That technology allows us to hear the paintings as the pigments start to sing to us. Another team member, Dr. Zachary Seldes. Dr. Zachary Seldes created the software spatialization interface that allows us to move the sound in the theater with multiple speakers, tracing the master painter's calligraphic strokes in space. That was the sound of pigments Who would have thought the pigments could be so hauntingly beautiful? My collaboration took me outside the collaboration with only engineers. The next phase of collaboration was with a group of oceanographers, including specialists of underwater acoustics, Dr. Joshua Jones and his advisor, Professor John Hildebrand of the Scripps Institution of Oceanography. We studied the Arctic ice. Arctic ice from its burst throughout the seasons, at least 6 of them, according to the Inuits, and sounds of marine mammals. As we immerse ourselves in these sounds, the old model in Western classical music, symbolized by the 3 big Bs, referring to Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms, was subverted and replaced by the 3 new big Bs, beluga whales, bearded seals, and bowhead whales. This is not new in a way. Musicians from across the globe and different cultures have tried to portray inspiring sceneries and the sensations of being in nature for centuries. Some compositions today try to respond to the issues of climate change using titles that reference rising sea levels and melting ice. But in what sense does the music let us understand and experience the planet with new insights? If a composition offers us the same methodology, the same materials, and the same perspectives as in the past, it is essentially the same music, except with a catchy title. We can no longer presume any empathy with the ocean by sitting in a beach chair. Our ocean is dynamic, unpredictable, and full of extremely complex sounds, including sounds that humans cannot perceive, and sounds that are vital for the survival of marine animals. Can you imagine a composer working with an oceanographer to make new music? You might be surprised to find out that some scientists are artists in disguise. When I invited oceanographer Dr. Joshua Jones into our rehearsal, and when he sees a violinist presses her bow onto the strings, he might perceive air pressure and ice formation. And the ensuing conversation takes us outside of the musical jargons. My composition, 6 Seasons, is ignited by new horizons of musical imagination. Here is the sound of ice. And in 5 seconds, you're going to hear a string quartet, in this case, the wonderful Mivos Quartet, respond to the ice using strings. Our next project, Inaudible Ocean, with Dr. Joshua Jones, explores a very vast spectrum of recorded data, spanning from the infrasonic, that is as low as 10 hertz, to the ultrasonic, up to 320,000 hertz. To give you some perspective, human hearing range occupies the range from 20 to 20,000 hertz, less than 1% of the frequencies we study. What makes these signals inaudible is not just their frequency range, but also their temporal domain. In order to perceive the richness of certain echolocation signals, one has to transpose the frequency and decelerate the playback by 10 to 100 times. This technology reveals the intricate landscape in the ocean, where mountains and valleys emerge through these awe-inspiring echoes. Inaudible Ocean is our journey into the realms below and beyond human hearing. Together, scientists and artists craft a sonic flashlight to illuminate the hidden wonders of the ocean. But let's take it one step further. If we use the same measuring device and study the sound that we humans make, we realize that we are making sound that we can't hear. So why are humans making sound that humans cannot hear? That's a question to be worked out with biologists. And what inaudible music are we making but don't yet know of? That is exactly what my students are going to explore in our seminars. In addition to working with oceanographers and engineers, I also work closely with geologist Professor Emily Chin. You might recall from the earlier part of my talk that X-ray fluorescence analysis combined with a visual spectral filter enable us to listen to the pigments. That experiment only deepened our curiosity. Can we hear the minerals sing, each with a unique harmony of its own? Our team member, Dr. Gabriel Zales, Bolivian, responded to a set of 188 minerals. And here's how it's done. The elemental composition of this graph is extracted visually, then applied through our software to map it onto the 88 keys of the piano. Another set of minerals, 128 of them, was responded by our software developer, Charles DeLuga, who sonifies the X-ray spectroscopy through tuning systems and granular synthesis. These two methods combined created 2 books of mineral harmonies available through Shop Music that makes over 300 minerals audible. Just imagine the music that we can make by using these new resources. In 2023, Qualcomm Institute at University of California, San Diego launched Lei Lab, consisting of members who are engineers, oceanographers, geologists, and software developers. Lei Lab was created with the conviction that we live in a time of inevitable convergence of arts and sciences, that the entire university should be conceived as one indivisible unit, that creative listening offers unique potential for learning, and we need to collectively and imaginatively face the challenges together. A final point. The term university in Chinese, 大学, represented here in a beautiful print of edition from the 13th century, means great learning. But what makes learning great in the 21st century? From the above examples, you have sampled some of the projects a composer like me can do at a university, projects that were impossible at a school of music. By extension, what can an engineer do in a university that is impossible at a school of engineering? A biologist at a school of biological sciences, and an oceanographer at an institution of oceanography. Only when the entire university is considered one indivisible unit can we start to imagine its future and its mission. The greatest asset of all the universities in the world is its faculty and students. And the greatest waste of all is to have all these brilliant people in a single institution who do not talk to each other across disciplinary boundaries. when we do talk to each other across the barriers of schools and divisions, we can begin to find solutions to challenges that we face together. Thank you.